My evil stepsister, who stole my husband, became his mistress, and my parents cheered them on years. What's up, guys? It's your girl Kayla, and today I'm telling you how my entire world blew up in the most insane, betrayal-filled, telenovela-style mess you've ever heard. Buckle up. So picture this. I'm a mum of two, married to my high school sweetheart Ryan for 8 solid years. We weren't perfect, but we were us. Had a cozy little house, 2 amazing kids, Lily, 6, and Jax, 4, and we were grinding together, making it work, building a real future, or so I thought. The stepsnake, aka Amber, my dad's new stepdaughter from his second marriage after my mum passed. At first, she was just there, quiet, kinda smug, always looking like she smelled something expensive. I tried to be cool, tried to play the good daughter, and keep the peace. My dad had just remarried this woman named Karen, yeah, for real, and Amber came with the package. But let me tell you, this girl was playing the long game from day one. It started subtle. She'd come to dinner, compliment Ryan in this flirty, I'm just being friendly voice that made my skin crawl. Like, wow, Kayla, Ryan's not just hot, he's smart too. You're so lucky. What? I thought she was awkward, maybe a little jealous, but harmless. Wrong. One night, I'm just doing laundry, living my mum life, and I walk past the living room. I hear Amber's voice. It's syrupy sweet, too sweet, red flag sweet. So I stop. She's talking to Ryan. Real low, real soft. And then I hear it. Kayla doesn't deserve you, Ryan. She doesn't get you like I do. You need someone who matches your ambition. I froze. I'm not even kidding, my heart stopped. My hands started shaking. I peeked around the corner, and there she was, sitting on the couch, way too close to my husband. Her legs crossed toward him, smile all fake and flirty like she was in some bad rom-com. And Ryan? He didn't move away. I wish I could say I ran in screaming. I wish I caused a scene right then, but I didn't. I backed away. Silent, sick, but ready. Because what they didn't know was that the version of me who let things slide died that night. This wasn't just betrayal. This was war. Okay, y'all. So remember how I caught my stepsister Amber flirting with my husband Ryan in my own damn house? And he didn't even shut it down? Yeah, well, it gets worse. Because Ryan? He didn't look disgusted. He didn't even look uncomfortable. He looked interested. Like that snake's words were making sense to him. He mumbled something half-hearted about being married, but it was weak. No conviction. No, back off. I love my wife. Just this. Dazed expression. Like she'd hypnotized him with her cheap perfume and daddy issues. I stood there in the hallway, frozen, watching the man I built a life with mentally cheat on me right in front of my eyes. I wanted to scream. I wanted to grab them both by the hair, but instead, I went upstairs, shut the door, and sat there, heart racing, mind spiraling. Was I overthinking? Was this real? Was Amber actually trying to steal my husband? Nah, no way, right? But I couldn't shake it. So the next day, I did what any sane person would do. I told my dad and his wife Karen. I laid it all out. How Amber was flirting. How Ryan didn't even push back. How off everything felt. I expected backup. I expected oh my God, Kayla, we'll talk to her. But nope. Instead, my dad shrugged. You're always so dramatic, Kayla. Amber wouldn't do that. Excuse me? And then Karen, aka the step witch, jumps in with, well, maybe Ryan just needs someone who understands him better, someone on his level. I sat there, blinking in silence. trying to process the fact that my own father and stepmother just low-key said, "Yeah, maybe your husband should leave you for your stepsister." I wasn't being supported. I was being gaslit by my own family. From that point on, everything spiraled, fast. Ryan and I were fighting all the time. Dumb stuff, like why he was working late, or why he missed dinner with the kids. But the truth? It was never about the hours or the excuses. It was always about Amber. I could feel it, the way he checked out emotionally, the way he looked at me like I was just noise. Every time I tried to talk to him, it felt like shouting into a void. But when I brought her up, he'd get defensive. Real quick. That's when I knew. I wasn't crazy. Something was going on. If betrayal had a face, it would be this. So here we are. Things had been tense for weeks. Ryan was cold, distant, always working late, and any time I said the name Amber, he'd shut down. Defensive. Like I was the one doing something wrong for noticing. Then, one night, he walks in late again, drops his bag like he's carrying emotional weight, sits down across from me with that "we need to talk" energy, and immediately, my stomach sank. I knew what was coming before he opened his mouth. "Kayla, I think it's best if we go our separate ways." No eye contact, no courage, just that dead, robotic tone, like he was breaking up with a college fling, not ending an 8-year marriage with 2 kids and a shared mortgage. I asked the question I already knew the answer to. Is this about Amber? He didn't say a word, just stared at the floor like the coward he'd become. I just need something different. Different. That word hit me like a slap. What does that even mean? Like I was some outdated version of a person and he needed an upgrade. As if I wasn't enough. Me, the woman who stood by him, raised his kids, built his damn world with him? That night he packed his bags and left. No tears, no fight, no second thoughts. Just zipped up his suitcase, kissed the kids goodnight like it was a normal Tuesday, and walked out like our entire life meant nothing. Days later, the divorce papers showed up like he was trying to get rid of me on a deadline, like I was something he couldn't delete fast enough. And here's where the real punch in the gut landed. He married Amber, my stepsister, the woman who called my house hers, the girl who seduced my husband under my own roof. They got married just a few months after the divorce. Fast, loud, gross. And guess who showed up to the wedding all smiles like it was some fairy tale? My dad and Karen. They clapped, took pictures, probably toasted with champagne while I sat at home trying to explain to my kids why their dad was playing house with Aunt Amber now. I didn't go to the wedding. Obviously. I would have sooner set the place on fire than stand in the back row and pretend like I was okay. But what they didn't know, what none of them knew, is that I wasn't done. Not even close. They thought they broke me, but really, they just lit the fire. So while my ex and his new bride/my stepsister were off living their twisted fairy tale, I was at home, on the bedroom floor, holding it together by threads. The house felt haunted. Not by ghosts, but by memories. The way Ryan used to laugh with the kids. The way I thought we were happy. Now, every corner just whispered, "He left you." That night, I sat there feeling every emotion at once. Rage, heartbreak, betrayal. Not just at him, not just at Amber, but at my own family, my dad, his wife Karen. The way they just stood there, cheered it on like it was some soap opera, instead of my life being burned to the ground. And then something inside me snapped into place. I wasn't going to cry about it anymore. They could have each other. Amber could play house with my ex. My dad could toast to betrayal for all I cared. But me? I had 2 little humans, Lily and Jax, who needed me. Who didn't ask for any of this. Who just wanted their mom. So I made a decision that night. They weren't going to win. I didn't have a roadmap. I didn't know how I was going to rebuild a life from literal ashes. But I was going to figure it out. I owed that to my kids. I owed it to myself. After Ryan left, everything felt hollow. I'd wake up, get the kids ready, go through the motions, but it was like I was on autopilot. And that fog? It was heavy. Every room in that house echoed with what used to be. The bedtime stories, the Sunday mornings, the plans for one day. Gone. But there was no time to sit around and wallow. Because while he chose betrayal, I had to choose strength. Lily would ask when Daddy was coming home. Jax would look at the front door like he was waiting for it to open, and I had to smile. Had to say things like, Daddy's living somewhere else now, with a calm voice even when my heart was screaming. But slowly, I started to move. One step at a time. One breath, one school lunch, one bill paid on time. I started piecing myself back together. Not to prove anything to them, but to build something better for us. I didn't just survive. I started to rise. To Lily and Jax, nothing made sense. One day Daddy's here, the next he's just gone. No goodbye they could understand, no reason that fit into their little world. I tried to explain without saying too much. But how do you tell your kids their dad left you for your stepsister? You don't. You just hold them tighter. You get them up for school, pack their lunches, read the bedtime story. Pretend you're okay until one day you're not pretending anymore. The fog stuck with me for a while. Some days I'd walk into the kitchen and forget why I was there. I'd stare at the laundry like it personally betrayed me. But I pushed through, because I had no other option. Then came the small wins, the moments that reminded me I was still in there, somewhere beneath the heartbreak. Like the morning, Lily made her own breakfast and said, I got it, Mummy, you're tired. Or when Jax curled up next to me and whispered, I miss Daddy, but I like when it's just us two. That's when I knew. We weren't just surviving, we were becoming something new. One night, Lily came up to me with this serious look, like she'd been doing math in her little head. She said, Mommy, are we poor now? And I swear, I felt my heart snap in half. Because the truth? We weren't poor yet, but we were dangling over the edge. Ryan was still making good money, but the child support? It was a joke. Barely covered groceries, let alone school supplies, clothes, bills, life. And of course, Amber's nails still looked fresh every week, but my kids? Outgrowing shoes faster than I could keep up. That night, I sat at the kitchen table staring at our bank account, what was left of it. I hadn't worked in almost a decade. No college degree, no recent experience. Just a resume full of unpaid overtime being a wife and a mom. Every time I tried to think of a solution, my stomach turned. I felt like I was drowning, and all the lifeboats were already taken. How was I supposed to support two kids, alone, without screwing them over by being gone all day? No backup, no savings, no co-parent who gave a damn. But something had to give. Because I wasn't going to let Amber and Ryan walk around acting like they upgraded their lives while I crumbled in silence. Oh no. They wanted to see me fall. I was about to show them what it looked like when I stood up. Because when rock bottom hits, you either break or you rebuild. So there I was, staring down an empty bank account, two kids who needed me, and absolutely no clue how to move forward. Everything felt impossible. Then one of my friends suggested, why don't you go back to school? Start fresh. Learn something new. And I was like, girl, are you serious? I could barely afford groceries, let alone tuition. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized I didn't have many other options. I needed more than a minimum wage job. I needed a real shot at stability, and the only path to that was through something that scared the hell out of me. So I did it. I signed up for community college. Yup, me. After a decade of being out of school, out of the workforce, and buried in diapers and dirty dishes, I enrolled in accounting, of all things. Why? Because numbers made sense. They didn't lie. They didn't cheat. They didn't walk out and marry your stepsister. Numbers just added up. And I needed something in my life that did. The first day, I walked into that classroom and instantly felt like I didn't belong. Everyone looked younger, cooler, more confident. I felt like a glitch in the system. But I stayed. Because failure wasn't an option anymore. Between juggling school, parenting, and scraping by, I was drowning most days. The exhaustion was unreal. I'd study after the kids went to sleep, crash for 4 hours, and do it all over again. But then I met Sarah, this powerhouse single mom working 3 jobs, raising 2 kids, and still somehow showing up to class with lip gloss and confidence. She looked me straight in the eye one day and said, "You got this, Kayla. We're tougher than we think." And damn, she was right. Week by week, assignment by assignment, I started to find my footing. It wasn't pretty, it wasn't fast, but it was mine. Of course, Ryan couldn't just disappear completely. He'd pop up every couple of weeks like a bad pop-up ad, calling all casual like, "Hey, how are you? How are the kids?" As if he hadn't blown up our lives and walked out without looking back. As if I forgot he left me sobbing on the bedroom floor while he slid a ring onto Amber's finger. I kept it civil, for the kids, but I didn't buy a second of it, because the truth was, he didn't care. Not really. And I had stopped needing him to. And I finally stopped pretending I needed anything from him. So yeah, Ryan would still call, every now and then, like clockwork. Just enough to make it look like he cared, but never enough to actually show up. The kids hadn't seen him in weeks. And when I brought it up, it was always the same tired excuses. "Work's been crazy. I'll stop by soon. Things have just been hard." Hard? Oh, that word set me off. One afternoon, he calls, all casual like we're old friends catching up over coffee. I picked up, already tired, already raw, and before he could finish his fake little intro, I cut in. "What do you want, Ryan? Because if you're not calling to see your kids, I don't care." Silence. Then he goes, "Things have just been really hard for me too." "Y'all?" I laughed. Like, actually laughed out loud. Because what did this man know about hard? He wasn't the one juggling school, cleaning up cereal spills, pulling double shifts at a diner, and crying into textbooks after bedtime. He wasn't the one stretching every dollar or explaining to his daughter why she had to wear last year's shoes again. He got to run away. He got to start fresh. I had to survive. So before he could say another word, I hung up. Done. Blocked. Emotionally and mentally. I wasn't carrying his guilt anymore. Let Amber deal with that energy. The months that followed were a blur of survival. I was studying late into the night, working whatever part-time jobs I could string together, all while trying to be a full-time mum. And even through all that chaos, I showed up. For everything. Every school event, every homework meltdown, every bedtime story. I was there. But it was brutal. There were nights I collapsed into bed, holding back sobs so the kids wouldn't hear. Nights I stared at the ceiling and wondered, can I really keep doing this? Nights where the weight of it all felt like too much. But I kept going. Because my kids deserved more than broken promises and second-hand effort. And I was going to give it to them, even if it nearly broke me first. No cap, no gown, but the win was real. So the day finally came. Graduation. No big ceremony, no stage, no confetti, no proud parents with signs and flowers, definitely no Ryan clapping in the back. Just me, Sarah, and a few classmates sitting around in a busted-up classroom, eating pizza off paper plates and toasting with lukewarm soda. And you know what? It felt like the biggest freaking win of my life. For the first time in years, I wasn't just surviving, I was celebrating. We laughed, took silly photos, And for a few hours, I forgot how hard the journey had been. I forgot the tears, the late-night panic attacks, the exhaustion. All I felt was pride. On the drive home, I looked in the rearview mirror. Lily and Jax were fast asleep in the back seat, mouths open, drooling like little angels. And that's when it hit me. I did it. Against all odds. Through the mess and betrayal and heartbreak, I had made it. When we got home, I knelt beside them and whispered, "Guess what? Mommy graduated today." Jax blinked and grinned. "Does that mean we get ice cream?" And I laughed. Like, ugly cried while laughing kind of laughed. But this time, it wasn't from pain. It was joy. Relief. Victory. And the next morning, I woke up different. Not because I had a fancy degree or a new title, but because I finally saw myself clearly. I wasn't just Ryan's ex-wife. I wasn't just the woman who got left for her stepsister. That version of me, the one who accepted less, who stayed silent, who waited for someone to save her, she was gone. I was someone new now. I was a woman who had been through hell and graduated from it. I had my kids, my strength, and a future I was about to build with my own hands. I wasn't surviving anymore. I was thriving. So yeah, fast forward a couple years after the whole mess. Ryan, Amber, the betrayal circus. And for the first time in a long time, I felt like my life wasn't just stuck on repeat pain. Things were finally starting to click. Bit by bit, I had clawed my way out of rock bottom. I wasn't just the girl who got left. I was Kayla, a mom, a college grad, and a woman who fought like hell to reclaim her life. After I got my accounting degree, I landed a job at a small local firm. Nothing flashy, no high-rise windows or fancy titles. But you know what? It was mine. A real job, real income, a real step forward. I still remember that first day walking into the office. Hands sweating, heart pounding, totally convinced I was going to embarrass myself over some basic thing like forgetting how to use Outlook or accidentally crashing the copier. I hadn't worked in an office in over a decade, and imposter syndrome? Loud. But then there was Mr. Rogers, my new boss. Super chill, mid-50s, kind of looked like a retired rock drummer turned accountant. He didn't make me feel small. He didn't rush me. He taught me the ropes with patience and made sure I knew. You belong here. And slowly, I started to believe it too. A few weeks in, I could feel it. I wasn't faking it anymore. I was good at this. Organized, detailed, reliable. 3 things I never gave myself credit for because I was too busy patching holes someone else left behind. And home? It was healing too. Lily and Jax were adjusting. Their routines were solid, their smiles more frequent. Bedtime stories turned from, "When is Daddy coming back?" to, "Can we get extra marshmallows?" They were okay, and that meant everything. Our life didn't look like the one I thought I'd have, but maybe that was the point. Maybe it was time to stop mourning the dream that died and start building something real. Something better. Something ours. Turns out, the glow-up wasn't just emotional, it came with a raise. So life was finally finding a rhythm. Lily and Jax were growing up fast. Too fast, honestly. And somewhere in between packing lunches, late-night math homework, and memorizing dinosaur facts, time had just flown. That's what survival mode does. It swallows weeks, months, and suddenly, your babies are outgrowing their clothes and asking deep questions about taxes. But then something happened. Something I didn't see coming. I was at work, mid-spreadsheet, probably 2 coffees deep, when Mr. Rogers called me into his office. Immediately, my stomach dropped. You know that moment where your brain just starts listing every possible thing that could be wrong? Did I screw up an account? Did I forget to email a client? Am I getting fired? I walked in like I was walking to my own funeral. Then he looks at me, all serious, and goes, "Kayla, I've been reviewing your work these past few months. Cue internal meltdown. But then, he smiled. And I've got to say, I'm impressed. You're thorough, organized, reliable. I think you're ready for something bigger. I blinked. Wait, bigger? He explained they wanted me to take on larger accounts, more responsibility, more trust, and yes, more pay. I was stunned. This wasn't just validation. This was elevation. After years of clawing my way up from the bottom, someone was finally saying, "We see you, and we believe in you." I walked out of that office floating, not just because of the promotion, but because it was the first time I truly realized I rebuilt my entire life from the ground up, and now I'm thriving. That night, I told Lily and Jax. And of course, being the adorable little chaos monsters they are, their first reaction was, "Does this mean more ice cream?" I cracked up, because of course that's where their minds went. But you know what? We did celebrate with ice cream. Extra sprinkles, no budget guilt, just joy. Because this win, it was for all of us. The next few weeks flew by. I was handling bigger projects, feeling more confident, walking into rooms like I belonged there, and not just as someone surviving, but someone killing it. And every single time I caught a glimpse of myself in the office window or the car mirror, I thought, damn, I don't even recognize the woman who let them walk all over her. Because that girl, she's gone. No longer the woman who got left, I was the woman who rose. I could feel the shift in everything. In the way I walked into rooms, the way I spoke to people, even the way I looked at myself in the mirror. I wasn't just Kayla, the woman who got left for her stepsister anymore. I was Kayla, the woman who rebuilt it all, stronger. Lily and Jax were blossoming too. They had friends, routines, confidence. Watching them thrive made every sleepless night and every tear-stained textbook totally worth it. It surprised me. Honestly, I thought Ryan leaving would wreck them. But kids? They're way more resilient than we give them credit for. They stopped asking about him as much. He still popped in occasionally, just enough to ease his guilt, but never enough to be consistent. But that's classic Ryan. He always knew how to vanish when it mattered most. Then came this one quiet night. I was tucking the kids in, nothing out of the ordinary. Then Lily, my sweet deep thinker, looked up at me with those big serious eyes and asked, "Mom, are we going to be okay?" That question hit deep. Not because I didn't know the answer, but because I realized how much I needed to hear it too. I sat down beside her, hugged her tight, and whispered, "Of course, sweetie. We're more than okay. We're a team. And we've got this." She smiled. That little nod she gave me, that was everything. That was my confirmation. We weren't broken. We were a unit. Me, Lily, and Jax. And as long as we had each other, we were solid. But the part I didn't expect was how much I was loving my job. Look, accounting isn't fireworks and confetti, but after years of chaos, stability felt like a rush. It wasn't just about paychecks anymore. It was purpose, structure, belonging. Every day I showed up, I felt like I was doing something. For my kids, yeah, but also for me. Then one afternoon, Mr. Rogers called me in again. But this time, I wasn't scared. I wasn't even nervous. I assumed it was a check-in or something small. Instead, he smiled and said, "Kayla, we want to give you a raise, and an even bigger role here." Just like that, everything I'd been pushing toward lined up. This wasn't luck. It was every late night, every ignored doubt, every time I stood back up when life tried to knock me out. This was me, winning. Just when I stopped looking back, he did. So yeah, when Mr. Rogers gave me that promotion, I was doing a full-on happy dance in my head. Of course, I played it cool in the moment, smiled, thanked him like a pro, but inside, I was screaming. This was huge. I rushed home, buzzing with excitement, and found Lily and Jax at the kitchen table, deep in homework mode. I slid into the seat beside them, grinning like I had a secret. Guess what, guys? Mom's got exciting news. Lily looked up, ever the little realist. Did you get a new job? Nope. Even better, I got a promotion. Jax blinked, tilted his head, and hit me with the important follow-up. So, do we get more ice cream? I burst out laughing. These kids, I swear, their priorities, immaculate. But honestly, that night, it felt good, solid, normal. Work, school, bedtime stories, the occasional night out with Sarah and a few friends. Nothing wild, just stability. After all the chaos, drama, and betrayal, this quiet rhythm felt like the biggest flex. And that's when I knew. I was over it. Ryan, Amber, all of it. They weren't even chapters in my story anymore. They were footnotes. I had built a life, a real one, on my own. But you already know where this is going, right? Because life never lets you get too comfortable without shaking things up. It was just a regular weeknight. I had just finished bedtime stories, Lily was deep into her animal phase, and Jax was obsessed with superheroes. I finally sank into the couch, ready for some sacred mum quiet time, when my phone buzzed. I glanced down and froze. Ryan. I hadn't heard from him in months. Besides the occasional dry text about pickup times or school forms, he'd been a ghost. So naturally, my first instinct was to hit ignore, let him vanish, like he always did. But something told me to pick up. And the second I heard his voice, I knew something was off. No drama, no breakdowns, just syrup, soccer stories, and strength. So yeah, Byron came crawling back, voice all cracked with regret, whispering about mistakes and maybe we could talk. And I shut that down fast. Because I wasn't that woman anymore. Not the broken ex. Not the one waiting for him to change. I was the one who moved on. And when he came for my money, our kids' money, after wrecking his life, his firm, and probably his third attempt at a midlife crisis, I could have buried him in court, but I didn't. I made the choice he never did, to do what was best for the kids. Set up a future fund, protected Lily and Jax, gave them stability, something he never could. Then came the hardest part, telling them. Sitting at the kitchen table, homework spread out, I broke the news as gently as I could. Your dad's having some money troubles, but it's nothing you need to worry about. I've made sure you're taken care of. Lily, always wise beyond her years, nodded slowly and asked, Does that mean we won't see him as much? And my heart cracked a little. Because I didn't know. I couldn't promise something Ryan wouldn't deliver. But I looked her in the eye and told her what I could promise. You'll always have me, and we're going to be just fine. And we were. Then a few Saturdays later, I'm in the kitchen making pancakes. It had become our thing, a tradition, something simple, warm, and ours. The smell fills the house, and like clockwork, Lily and Jax come sprinting in. Guess what, Mom? Lily beamed. We won our soccer game, and I scored the winning goal. And I kicked the ball so hard it almost hit the other team, Jax added, like he just won the World Cup. I grinned as I flipped another pancake, heart full. That's amazing. You guys are awesome. You know what? Extra syrup for champions. As we sat around the table, sunlight streaming through the windows like some cheesy movie scene, Lily suddenly tilted her head and said, Mom, are pancakes strong? I laughed. Where do they even come up with this stuff? Maybe not superhero strong, but strong enough to hold a lot of syrup. Jax. Waffles are stronger. They've got little power squares. And just like that, we were in a full-blown syrup theory debate, team pancake versus team waffle, and it hit me. This. Not courtrooms. Not apologies. Not revenge or karma. This Saturday morning, full of laughter, light, and way too much syrup, was the real victory. We had made it. Not in a dramatic, movie-ending kind of way. In the real way. In the healed way. 3 people. 1 team. No longer broken. Just us. Stronger. Steadier. And finally, free.